Rowe, you are the patron for Permafund.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about why everyone should get involved?
Yes, because before I became permaculture, I worked for years and years in development projects across the world, and I saw a lot of corruption, and I saw a lot of money wasted, and I knew the money was too big and the projects often were not doable, and that the whole thing was a bit of a sham led by a sort of a colonial attitude. And then when I had a look at Permafund, small scale, small money, big impact, giving people a lot of responsibility to do what they need to do with it, and the amazing fact is it comes back much bigger and better than ever done. So I would say to people, if you want to be effective, then at least work with a small organisation with a big impact, not a big organisation with small impact. And Permafund is the only international NGO that permaculture has, and we are now global. We are reaching out through various programs, it's teaching or through refugees or something, for the whole world, and this is where we need to be putting the money. It's based on a principle called surplus to need, redistribute surplus to need. One of the richest countries in the world. So I'd say to people, get behind it, if you can, serve on it. Otherwise, put a few dollars behind it, and let's see if we can all do more good.
John and Charlie, thank you for joining me. Can you tell us about Permafund and why people should get involved and support the cause?
Yeah, okay. So Permafund's is owned by Permaculture Australia. It's the tax deductibility status that Permaculture Australia have, and the group, the volunteer group that wrap around themselves to deliver that is known as Permafund. So we call for donations, and once a year we put out a small grants round. So figures of around $1,000 or $2,000 going to projects that are already over there. I mean, the big tick is the need, basically. It's where the need is the greatest. And so we put out a grants round and we get lots of applications in, and depending on how much money we've got to work out the best ones and then allocate it to them. So they're already over there. We're not imposing anything. It's happening over there. But the main thing, it's not just the money, it's the communication. It's getting to know these people and, their needs into the future and stuff like that. So I guess where we're at, so that's what we do. We've been together about 12 years, and I think we've gone into something like 18 countries, over 70, groups have been funded, and it's fantastic to see. So we want to continue that, but we also want to grow. So our big issue is getting that piggy bank, which is over the last 10, 12 years, it's been between, say, $10,000 and $20,000 we've been able to raise, which is great. But we haven't done a lot in that fundraising space, and we now want to ramp up a bit. The more money we have, the more that we can assist people. So that's a big one.
And what kinds of projects? Can you give some examples of where the money's gone to in the past?
So, East Africa is a big one that keeps cropping up, India, Philippines. So in India, it's very much marginal farmers that were hooked into the Green Revolution and now want to get off and just want to go back to the old ways of growing food. So there's a lot of training needed to, an organic methods or, the regen ag field, that just to training up marginal farmers is a big one. Things like seed saving is really important, traditional seeds, and keeping that, viable. And yet it's technology like rocket stoves in Africa. The need to find some timber to cook your meal. Just a simple technique of a rocket stove with a few twigs can save lives. And so areas like that, very simple things.
Thanks. And Charlie, why is this a cause that's close to your heart?
Look, I reckon Permafund is the perfect embodiment of the ethic of fair share. And as someone who runs a permaculture business, I have a band, we teach courses, if we're making an income from permaculture, it's a great way for us to be able to tithe part of that income to other projects on the ground in places that really need it. And that gives bioregional, local, autonomous resilience to communities that, are way more impacted on by things like climate change and economic fluctuations and stuff than we currently are. So I think it's essential as a part of permaculture, but also as an aid organisation. They say that permaculture is possibly the world's biggest aid organisation, even though it's a decentralised movement. So there's no way to accurately measure that. But the impact that I've seen on the ground, with tiny amounts of funding going to projects in places like East Africa that help a village just put in a well or, put in a food forest that can feed the entire village. The impacts are huge. And if you're making a tiny bit of money in whatever business you do, or a large amount of money, and really want to see an impact, it cuts out the middleman. There's no big organisation and bureaucracy behind it. It's basically just direct way to channel abundance to places that really need it. And the more we can build it, in the last few years, a lot of the world's wealth has been sort of trickling up rather than down. And so, if you're in a position where you find yourself with abundance that you want to share, I'd say Permafund is possibly your best bet to actually make a real difference in people's lives and whole communities' lives as well.
Wonderful. Anything else you two would like to add?
Yeah, so just some thoughts about possible fundraising initiatives, and I guess it's an appeal out to permaculture groups all over Australia. There's lots of them. And just think about consideration of, say, one event a year where the donations go to Permafund. If we can manage to do that, that'd be fantastic. Businesses also, the tithing of 10% would be one way of assisting. We have International Permaculture Day, which is always celebrated on the first Sunday of May. It was to honour Bill Mollison's birthday. And I think that's a great opportunity to make that connection. We're about making connections. So how about International Permaculture Day becomes the day where permaculture groups in Australia and all over the world, because it is international, do an event to the public, promote permaculture, and the proceeds coming back into Permafund that assist people in need. It's the fair share that Charlie was talking about. That'd be just fantastic to happen, yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you both for the amazing work that you do.